G'day folks, this is another junkyard find of mine. I've done a lot of videos on condensing units for air conditioners, and I realise I haven't done any good features on the evaporator panels for them. This is a large Fujitsu unit that I picked up a couple of days ago, largely intact. I'm actually hoping to use this one as part of my heat pump setup, as we're going into winter now and it gets bloody cold out here at night. Of course, I do my best work at night, so I don't want to be freezing my ass off when I'm doing it. With a bit of luck I'll be able to set this one up and use it, but for now I'll actually do a demo and take it apart for you. Hopefully be able to put it back together again. I still have to pick up the condensing unit that goes with this evaporator, but I'm not sure whether or not it'll be repairable. If it is, then I'll keep it together. If not, I'll use one of the other condensing units that I have. I know there's a risk associated with mixing and matching components and using second-hand line sets and things. I certainly wouldn't use this with the Dakin unit, since that uses polyester compressor oil and this one's had mineral compressor oil through it. Can cause some serious problems. But basically it's a fairly simple device. You've got anti-mold air filters. There's your coils in there. This is the side that air is drawn in through, sucked in through there by the blower that's mounted inside, and then it comes out through these flaps which oscillate. They're controlled by a stepping motor and lever assembly so that they tilt and diffuse the flow of air throughout the whole room. We have an intake air temperature sensor. Nice little wiring diagram on here. I'm not going to be able to get it with this in movie mode, but I'll post a picture of it anyway. I didn't get the infrared remote with this one, so unfortunately I'm just going to have to run it in manual mode and force the condensing unit to go into heat mode when I need it. I've already got the big one up there for cooling, so there's no need to run this as a cooling unit. I can't actually run the two at the same time either. I'm limited to 35 amps out here, and the two of them combined will probably pull about 45, so I can only run one at a time anyway. The panel's removed, it's easy to see the construction of this device. You've got your evaporator here, air inlets from this side, and you can actually see the rotor or the squirrel cage blower inside there all the way along. It's one long squirrel cage blower. These flaps will oscillate as well as these ones inside to divert the airflow around the room. This is your solid state controller. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if this is the problem with the unit. The condensing unit might just be fine, but this one here could be fried, or vice versa. I didn't actually take note whether or not the condenser was an inverter drive or conventional AC compressor. The unit for this panel is, or the model of this panel is AST24 RGB-W. It's 240 volts AC. Made in Thailand for Fujitsu in Japan, so it's obviously not Japanese made Fujitsu. This is why a lot of people don't like them. I know the company that supplies these likes Dakins, and I can't blame them. A lot of these new Fujitsus are made in China, and they are indeed crap. Not to say they don't last a while. This one's obviously done a lot of work, but you do get bad ones. You can see your liquid inputs here, where the liquid evaporates into a gas, absorbing your heat, and you have your gas outputs back to the compressor. One there, one there. Yeah, two of them, just the two there. You've got 1, 2 liquid inputs. These pipes come out the bottom. This one's actually spiraled, very flexible. And this other pipe here is actually your condensate drain. Obviously these coils are going to condense moisture on their surface, and that just drains down into the bottom of that pan there and out through the drain. If that's not hooked up right, then you get water running down your wall, and that's not good. These are your control connections. You've got mains power input and a power supply in there, and you also have 24 volt control, one for reversing and one for on command for the condensing unit. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to tear it down much more than that. I want to get this thing cleaned up and probably pick up the condenser tomorrow and just see if that's worth fixing. If not, I'll try and piggyback it onto a Mitsubishi condenser that I have. Roughly the same horsepower, same size. The control is very basic, so we'll see how we go. Well, this thing does want to run in manual mode, albeit very slowly. The fan is working, but lowest possible speed. I'm guessing without the proper remote control, this thing won't run in high speed on its own. I'm going to have to hotwire the relays and just force it to run on high relay rather than the low. It's not actually a variable speed fan controller, it's just a set of relays to each of the motor poles. Common and active, as well as a couple of different speeds. Should be able to figure that one out pretty easy. But overall it's not completely dead anyway. I'm guessing the problem with this system was in the condensing unit. And I'll find out about that tomorrow. Well, I wasn't really going to tear this thing apart this much, but I guess the more you leave something like this in a confined space, the more the smell gets to you. Look at all this mould and mildew. Nobody's ever cleaned this thing. This is why you should always clean your evaporator. I just started to I noticed the smell when I picked it up, but the more you leave it inside, the worse it gets. It wouldn't surprise me if they threw it out simply because it smelt like arse. This is the air handler, or diffuser anyway. Got two little stepping motors. The whole thing's just covered in mould spots and grey crap. Really is a nasty smell. It's fairly humid out here because of the rain, so that's probably making it worse. And the coils, I think I'll have to go to Reese's refrigeration and get a couple of cans of coil cleaner because this thing's covered in mould. I know it doesn't show up on the camera, but it's nasty. I just take all the electronics out, stand it on its end and hose it down. The blower. That's the actual condensate pan in there, and it too is covered in crap. Unfortunately, being such a small indoors wall unit, you can't just tear the thing apart and start hosing it down. At least not without the customer complaining about water running down their walls. I'm guessing there's a way to treat these, or at least spray them with an inhibitor. But this one's obviously never been touched.